Hello and welcome everyone. This series is about how to sketch a realistic rose or any realistic object. So first and foremost I will select a reference image. These are some of the images I came across. But these images do not have the appropriate contrast nor the depth that I am looking for. After searching a lot, I came across an appropriate image which has the appropriate contrast, the darker shades as well as the lighter shades, and I can see a lot of depth is there in these images. And apart from that, a very important thing, the light source. It is very clear that the light source is from the left hand side, so all the shades are according to that, so it becomes really easy to understand the light dynamics. Be it landscape, portraits, objects or anything else, I always draw my sketches freehand. And I'll suggest you to do the same, but in case you're a beginner and it is really difficult to draw freehand, then I'll suggest you go for the grid method that is there. But instead of the grid method, I've seen a lot of people simply tracing the reference image over the sheet. See, I'll suggest you to go for the grid method. And in all the art schools, grid method is taught first, and after drawing with the help of the grid you would be easily able to draw freehand, and after some time live drawing will also become easy for you, because the sense that is required for drawing the proportions is easily developed if you draw freehand. So let's move on to the shading part. I always start my shading with a 2B pencil or an HB pencil, because initially you have to produce the lightest of the tones. Every pencil has its range of tones and shades it can produce. So for the lighter shades or soft shading, always use an HB pencil or a 2B pencil. And when the upper limit of the range of that particular pencil is reached, then go for a softer lead pencil. Like if you're using a 2B pencil, then go to a 3B pencil, then move to a 4B pencil. So always start with an HB or a 2B pencil. That is the crux. See, one definitely can produce darker shades with a soft lead pencil, with a 2B pencil or a 3B pencil, but then what will happen is you'll end up ruining the paper, because the lead here is way too hard. So do not ever apply extra pressure with a 2B pen, with any pencil, be it 2B pencil or 3B pencil. And even if when you move to a 4B pencil, 5B pencil, never apply extra pressure. Instead, move on to a softer lead pencil if you are looking for darker shades. And whenever you feel that this particular pencil is not able to produce the particular shade that you're looking for, always switch your pencil. Do not keep applying extra pressure with that particular pencil only. Move to a soft lead pencil. And when it comes to producing an appropriate shade, you need to look at the surrounding areas as well. For example, the background, in this instance other petals. What shades do other petals have? Is it lighter than the petal that is beside this particular petal I am working on, or is it darker than that, or it is somewhat similar to it? You need to keep these things in mind. You not only have to look at just that particular part that you are making from the reference image, you also need to look at the other areas that sooner or later you will be drawing. So all in all, you have to build the image, the complete image that you're looking for, the complete drawing. Like this is the way my drawing should look when it is complete. So that image of the complete drawing, when you've completed it, it should be clear in your head. And when it comes to a realistic sketch, never ever draw the outlines. For example, in this instance, I could have made every petal's outline so that every petal is differentiated, and then I could have shaded them. But then my artwork will lose the realistic touch, the realistic appeal that should be there. So instead of drawing the outlines of every petal, what you can do is simply recognize the appropriate tone that is required in every petal, and that will automatically differentiate every petal, and it will automatically give your object the depth that is required. And had it been that I had drawn outlines, my sketch would have looked completely old schoolish and not at all professional. So always avoid making outlines and simply make tone variations. And when it comes to producing smoothest of the possible shades or the gradient, the smoothest gradient that you're looking for, and for producing smoothest of the possible shades, another point here is always start with an HB pencil or a 2B pencil. You always have to start with a hard lead pencil and then gradually move towards a softer lead pencil, and then later add the softest of the pencils. For instance, in this rose, I have started with a 2B pencil, and then if the need is for a softer lead pencil, then I slowly move to a 3B pencil, and then to a 4B pencil, and then to a 5B pencil. The reason why I always use a hard lead pencil first and gradually move towards a softer lead pencil is, see, the most of the sheets that we use have a rough texture. So when you simply shade with a soft lead pencil, you'll see a lot of gaps are there in between, or uneven shading is there. So to avoid that, always use a hard lead pencil first and then move on to a soft lead pencil, because the gaps there are already filled by a soft lead pencil. And another important thing to consider while drawing is always study the object and its surroundings. The texture, always study the texture of the object. Always study the shape of the object and the light source, from where the light is coming. For example, when we consider this particular instance, in this rose the light is falling from the left hand side. So the petals on the left hand side will have the lighter tones, and as we gradually move towards the right hand side of the rose, the petals, stem and leaves on the right hand side will have the darker tones. And apart from that, the petals that are on the inside or that are not exposed to light will have the darker shades, or at least the mid-tone. For instance, if I consider this particular petal that I am drawing, the left hand side of this petal is going inward. So the leftmost part of this particular petal is not exposed to light. Hence, this particular part, the leftmost part of this petal, will have the darkest of the tones, because it is not exposed to any light. But as we gradually move towards the right side of this petal, we'll observe the lighter tones and the mid-tones. And if we further study this particular petal, the rightmost part of the petal has a curve, so it is not exposed to the light that is falling from the left hand side. Hence it will have the mid-tone, and the part in the center will have the lightest of the tones. And since this particular rose do not have sharp edges or sharp corners, then it will not have abrupt shading. Everywhere it will have a gradient, dark to light shade or light to dark shade. And as we move towards the central part of this particular petal, the shading here has not suddenly changed from a mid-tone to a lighter tone. It is gradually moving towards a lighter tone. So you should never go for an abrupt shading. Always mix the shades and make a gradient. And another point I would like to suggest is always use a kneadable eraser. With the kneaded eraser, with a clay-like kneaded eraser, you can simply mold its shape and exactly work on the tightest of the areas that you want to work on. So coming down to the point, what all is required for making a realistic drawing like this? All you need is a range of pencils from 2B till 8B and a kneaded eraser plus a gummy eraser. That is it. So when it comes to the darkest of the tones, you cannot simply erase it by using a gummy eraser or a normal eraser. So for that we need a kneaded eraser, and in case you're working with charcoal, you won't be able to erase it with a normal eraser. So for that you definitely need a kneaded eraser. So that is kind of a prerequisite for making drawings like this. Always move the pencil in all the directions. Move it horizontally, vertically, in the clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. This is done so that all the gaps that are there in a rough textured sheet are completely filled, so that you get the smoothest of the shades and there is no gap or dots in between. And when it comes to producing the softest of the shades, then always move the pencil horizontally or vertically. Then you are not supposed to move the pencil in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. Because for the softer shades you require much more pressure controls. So when you're moving the pencil horizontally or vertically, then you have much more control over the pencil. But when you're moving towards the darker shades or the mid-tone, then always try to move the pencil in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, so that all the gaps in the rough textured sheet are filled and you get a very good gradient and smoothest of the possible shades. And apart from the way that you're moving the pencil, there is this pressure technique that really helped me a lot. So if you want to produce the lightest of the shades, then hold the pencil from the very end, from the opposite end of the tip, and without moving your wrist or fingers, simply move the pencil from your shoulder or by just moving your elbow. This way you would be able to produce the lightest of the shades. And if you're working on the mid-tones, then hold the pencil from the middle or closer to the tip. And if you're working on the darker shades, then hold the pencil closest to the tip. This way you would be able to produce the darkest of the shades, and apart from that, just move your fingers or your wrist. By holding the pencil closer to the tip and by just moving your fingers, you would be able to produce the darkest of the shades. Even with a 2B or a 3B pencil, you would be able to produce the darker shades. And I will suggest you to avoid blending tools like blending sticks, brushes, tissues, earbuds, etc. These tools are very useful if you're working on a larger area, but when it comes to smaller areas, I tend to lose the precision, and even when it comes to the tightest of the areas, then you won't be able to produce the required gradient that is required by using these blending tools. So instead, go as per the process, go for the techniques that I have told you and avoid using these tools. You would be able to produce the smoothest of the shades. And the last point I would like to make is always try to produce as much contrast as possible. Apart from the lighter tones and the mid tones, your artwork should also have the darker tones, the darker shades. For example, in this instance, most part of the rose has the lighter tones and the mid tones, but the buds and the stems have the darker tones. So you'll see the change. Just exclusively look at the art, look at the rose, and compare it with the complete drawing when it has the darker shades. You'll get to know the difference. So that is it from my side in this particular tutorial. So enjoy the rest of the tutorial. I'll keep the music playing for you. Thank you so much for sparing your precious time and watching my video. I hope it helps you become a better artist. And see you next time. Bye.